1, going live. Me, 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 me.
Me, 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 me.
And now the theme. Good evening. You're listening live to the Too Extreme Horror Show. I'm your host, Rob. My guest tonight, as always, is the real Dr. V. Good evening, sir.
How's it going?
It's going good. Hope your Thanksgiving found you all hale and hearty and full and stuffed, because tonight we're going to talk about a bit of an odd movie that doesn't ever get discussed, and that's Fright Night Part 2 from 1988, a sequel to Fright Night, which we recently covered on the Too Extreme Horror Show. We got a lot of positive feedback off of that one, so it's pretty interesting to sit there and think about what would have been at the time had this movie came out a year or two after the original Fright Night, because I got to tell you, I think the story behind this, besides it being super low budget, is the fact that the guy that produced it for that production company, I think he was killed by his kids, and those were the Melendez brothers. Which, if you remember, Cable Guy, they made fun of at the beginning as a side plot that you saw on TV. Bill Melendez and the other one, and I think they got off or something. But anyway, I never knew that till today. But who cares about details? Let's just talk about Fright Night Part 2 from 1988. A little different than the original Fright Night movie, but overall I thought it was a somewhat decent flick worth watching with some noticeable differences. So tell me, Doctor, Fright Night, what are your initial impressions?
I This sequel is actually a good follow up to the first one. Obviously it's a couple of years later, maybe like 3 or 4, because I think I'm not sure what he was in high school. The first movie, maybe a senior or junior. Anyway, this one starts off where Charlie he's in college, and he's seeing a psychologist and all that crap, and basically saying like, oh, the psychologist saying like, oh, vampires aren't real. You just made that all up. You guys are just a horrible. That guy Jerry was just a horrible guy. It's a serial killer. That's just kill people. And then you guys had a group hallucination. I'm like right there and there. I'm like, what? That was kind of weird that anyone even say that.
Yeah, I liked how
Um,
the I
uh,
liked how it started off. I mean, immediately when the movie starts, it's he's sitting on the chair and he's talking to the this creepy bug-eyed looking psychologist dude, and you get all this psychobabble nonsense, and how does that make you feel, which is like the standard reply after everything. And somehow, even though they didn't use drugs in here, which I'm sure they probably would have if it was filmed anytime after 1988, it was a convenient way to explain the fact of everything that happened. Now, how it all ended up, we don't know, but they addressed it rather quickly to start this film off, and that was acceptable to me.
yeah, I mean, I actually like this film. Maybe a little bit more than the first one. only
Really?
because Only because Peter, like I said, I was telling you offline that Peter Vincent actually got more of a role in this story. Um, he had more of a character development. He was, after the first one, he was kind of like, he's all happy, excited, like, yeah, Charlie, I'm great vampire stuff. We can hunt vampires together. And Charlie was kind of a dick to him. Yeah, even his girlfriend's like, oh, you're eccentric old man. He's a nice guy, but he's eccentric. Because Charlie didn't want to believe that vampires are real and all stuff, because he had a new girlfriend, new smoking girlfriend. Yeah, he must have dumped Amanda Beers, whatever her name is, like Amy, like to the curb instantly after that movie. After he got lucky, I don't know.
Well,
but
I was gonna say, you're right. Let's talk about the girlfriend for a minute, because obviously, at the end of the first movie, you thought there might be a sequel with his friend. They kind of teased at the end, but he's making out with his girl like they're gonna do it, because I had jokingly talked about the whole movie Fright Night is about repressed sexuality and the fact that Charlie's not getting any, and all his problems stem from the fact that he just will not give, his girlfriend what she wants at the time. And in a way, you have the exact same thing going on here. So while he's a man supposedly now because he's been in college, and to your point, Peter Vincent is here, he is a bit of a jerk, and that's actually kind of cool. I think in this movie, some of the scenes where he's being a bit of an ass, you're like, I didn't expect that out of this guy that looks like Steven Crowder.
Is that I dude? I nearly spit my drink on when I saw that. Right? I'm like, why does he look so familiar? I'm like, wait, that's Steven Crowder. Holy crap! You side by side comparison.
Yeah, so the movie starts like we said about the psychologist, and so he meets his current girlfriend, who she's got the full on 80s dress style. She's got the jeans that are ripped at the knee. She's got the big puffy jacket. Her hair's big at the end of the movie, but she's blonde. But she wants to be a psychologist, and I'm just rolling my eyes, going, "Dude, you're in college." They obviously haven't sealed the deal. He keeps pushing, a little hard, and she keeps saying no. And I'm thought, well, Charlie, if you're a stud like you're supposed to be, and you're at college for God's sakes, there's plenty of other ladies that like to hook up, but that being said, one thing I will say about the movie is that I do agree with you. I liked what I liked about this film more than the first one is I think the set pieces were really fantastic because he's at college, and very rarely do you see movies that are at college. But early on, when he meets his girl, he notices in this building that there's more stuff coming in, some coffins and whatnot. So it's kind of like the first movie, and I thought, oh my god, are they recycling it? Does it work?
Yeah,
I don't know, but he's still convinced that everything that happened before was not real. And of course, his girl doesn't like any talk of this whatsoever, and she's all serious. And it's like, she just takes the wind out of your sail every scene she's in early on. And I guess that's supposed to be her role. But to your point, Peter Vincent plays a much bigger role in this movie.
much bigger. Here is he's they said like coming off the first one he was kind of like scared. He didn't really believe Charlie, but then he saw it firsthand, and then he got kind of rushed. So then he took it to a show, and the show executives they were getting sick of him because he was like he was acting kind of crazy, kind of nuts. He's like like yes, he's like yes, I fought vampires and monsters and all the monsters are real, and they're mad because he was going off the script. He was talking for real.
Hmm.
uh, so, but in this movie, you see him when he meets this vampire, we should explain, is actually Jerry's sister
Yeah, we don't
from
know
the
this
first
at the
movie.
beginning at all, but she
I
comes
know,
in,
but
she's very sultry, and
yeah,
she has a posse. Regine is her
yes.
name.
After she seduces Charlie again, because Charlie cut himself shaving in his dorm room,
Hmm.
and she came in like basically just seduced him when he was drawn to her, like, well, obviously, like how Amy in the first movie was drawn to Jerry. This one's a female, and she
Hmm.
has power of men. She even had power, so she's able to like she so the best way she decides to get revenge against the two men that killed her brother is she tries to turn Charlie into a vampire. And the
Yeah,
way she does it is so freaking like
it's
seductive, but
erotic.
also it's a great, yeah, it's also creative. Because most people, like, well, here's two guys that killed vampires, so she can't let them know that there's, so she's not gonna bite them two fangs. She does, she sticks one of her fangs into the hole and underneath the band-aid into the wound where he cut himself with a razor. And
It's the female version of just the tip.
yep, yep.
And no, I don't
Just
mean
a little
pegging.
bit. But yeah, so I mean, she was already messing with his head before when he was making out with his girlfriend Alex in the car.
Yes.
She got him really turned on, and then he was getting out. Basically, as she can, she seduce him to ruin his life.
Yeah.
And
I was gonna.
I
I was
did,
just
I
gonna
did,
say, if you haven't had a woman show up at your door with a trench coat like she does in the Charlie's dorm room, you haven't lived. I'm telling you, that pretty much died after the '80s. It seems like, but who knows in today's millennial world. Well, let's talk a little bit about what Charlie sees because kind of like the first movie, he sees out of his window this guy that's being brought up into this room, and he sees it's kind of like the sex kind of thing where like these two women are working on this guy and she's looking at him and he gets gland and she seduces him like the way you described. But Regine the vampire, she's got this posse with her. She's got this bug eating dude, she's got this dude on roller skates, and then she's got the werewolf guy, who I guess is supposed to be kind of the comedy thing because Charlie goes through this spell of, following her, blowing off his girlfriend at the symphony, just so he can see what's going on. He's like, no, 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 no. What am I doing? This is stupid. Vampires aren't real. And of course, the guy that's the werewolf is trying to seduce his girlfriend to get back, and it's supposed to be, I guess, the lighthearted parts to it. And I just thought if they'd kind of let this go a little bit, it definitely would have been more adult feeling because Charlie gets prescribed bowling as like therapy by a psychologist, and he's got the sunglasses on, and he's starting to react, and it's like, okay, we're almost an hour into this film, and you don't know anything about the vampire crew. Charlie's bowling, they pretty much breaking up, and Peter Vincent doesn't, you know. Want to have anything to do with him, or he would like to be his bro, but Charlie's been an ass to him, so he's like, screw you, buddy. And then his girlfriend, of course, doesn't want them mixing up, so it takes a while before they all team up again to go after vampires.
So there is one good scene though. I love in this is on Charlie, because Charlie had ditched his girlfriend to be with this vampire chick, go to a party, and he brought Vincent along. So he'd already stood her up like a couple times, So that and so the scene I'm to tell in particular is when he goes to make it up to her, he's wearing the shades, the ones like the risky business shades, or the ones are
Ray
the ones,
Bans.
or the world's so bright I gotta wear shades.
Ray Bans.
Yeah.
The Tom Cruise shades.
But anyway, he goes up there and he talks, and she kind of shrugs it off like because he reads about. She made a comment about, I think it was about Dracula or something like that,
Mm.
and he basically got really passionate, and he showed up in front of her. He's like, how dare you? He's like, you've never even read it, but you're such a snob. It's like it's one of the best literature there is out there. And that I mean, I thought it was how they slipped that in and how the whole argument, and then you find out later that she actually sat down and read the book.
Yeah, we
So
do
that,
see that scene in the library because that's where the werewolf
yeah.
guy is trying to seduce her.
And I was so confused about this werewolf guy because he's like, is he supposed to be a werewolf or is he supposed to be a vampire? Because like,
Yeah, I see your point there. I call werewolf guy because that's what it looks like to me, and this is one of the flaws I think of the movie. Where, okay, Regine, the female vampire, Jerry Jandridge's sister, she wants to do this forever torture basically, and then she tells Charlie this really basically in the third act towards the end of the movie. You don't really know what it is, but she's rolling with these people that you're not 100% sure if they're all vampires or maybe they're a vampire with that has a certain skill, like one turns into animals, one does like the fog and bat stuff. I mean, you're not really sure, so I just called him werewolf guy because that's what he looked like, and bug eating guy because that's their functionality. The funny adult thing about all this though is, to your point, when you see the scene about halfway through the movie where Peter Vincent and Jerry are going to the house party because they happen to live in Peter Vincent's crib, and he's got a sweet crib, but they go next door, and Peter's like, "You can't be rude. Well, come on, we'll go over there, and I'll prove to you they're not, vampires." And so they go around and all that, but she's a performance artist, and so they go over there, and it's supposed to be a big performance of vampires, like some sort of weird sex club thing or whatever in someone's house. But of course, Charlie, has a dance with her, and he goes to leave. And he's like, "Yeah, this is stupid. This is dumb." And then Peter Vincent, which even though this is a rip off of the first movie, I still liked how they did it. He went to get a cigarette out to kind of double check what was going on when he was dancing with Regine, and he looks and he sees, oh, not there, definitely vampires. Now Peter Vincent, the one who didn't believe there was vampires, but now believes there's vampires and has to convince Jerry that they are, and the girlfriend wants nothing to do with either one of them. So even though they have
well,
some similar things, they flip the script a bit.
I just want to interject. He's not convincing Jerry because Jerry's dead. He's
Yeah, I keep
Charlie.
saying Jerry when I should be saying Charlie. That's my bad. Yeah, 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 yeah. You're so cool, Brewster. My bad. No, but you're right. But I thought that was kind of neat that they're performance artists and they're performing as vampires. And the reason why it's a key point is because Regine ends up replacing Peter Vincent on his own show. And the funniest
Yes,
scene to
yes.
me is not her going up and kind of having this neat little transformation scene that they show on there as a quote unquote performance on artist on Fright Night. It's what does an old man do when his supposed bro that he's been through hell and back with rebuffs him? He goes and he drinks and he gets all pissy about it, and this is a key scene because he gets so mad at Regine replacing him and Charlie taking or not being his bro. He goes to the set of where his show is at, and he makes like he's gonna kill her, and they lock him
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
So we're two-thirds
They
through
did-
the movie, and everybody's locked up, and you're like, okay, what the hell's going on? We still don't even know what Regine's plan is until she says it to Charlie.
Still there?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, it's just funny the different characters and all. Regime's crew. There's one guy on here. He's on ski on
He roller skates.
rollerblades. Yeah, or yeah, roller skates or rollerblades. I don't see. I don't think they had blades back then, and this is like 89, 88, and then those come to like maybe a little later.
Yep.
But he's there's one of the opening scenes in this movie is where he's going when they first show up. There's this on the campus. There's this hot Asian chick. Oh, semi hot. You know. Anyway,
Aren't they all?
she's yeah. Don't
Please
say that in
continue.
front of me. Anyway, no, she's out there. She's studying out. You know, she's basically walking back from class. You know, obviously because of the campus. Here comes roller skating vampire, and she's like, "What's going on?" And it's this fog mist, and he comes up. You just see him. He's like he looks like he's what's that guy's in? Not Blades of Glory, but those the figure skaters. You know when they're going back and forth.
Yeah, yeah. It's a
He's
slow mo scene, and it's got the sexy
yeah.
guitar going, like instead of the sexy sax. So yeah, there's the yeah. When I was watching, I thought to myself, man, I would love it if my junior college or the college I went to was this dark at night with all this fog because nothing says 80s like lens flare, which is number one, but a fog machine you could argue would be a great second place thing. It's definitely here, and you're like, what the hell's going on?
Hey, what's up, Aloha? Or Aloha to you too as well, Bianca. Yeah, this movie was like it's got corny parts to it, but you know it's also got some fun stuff too. Yeah, Brian Armstrong in here. His
Let's
whole
talk
entire
about
work
Brian
was
Armstrong. He's an 80s guy we don't talk about until we talk about Cobra, which is coming soon.
exactly. If you're watching this movie, you don't know who this guy is. Go watch Cobra. Look for the guy carrying the giant axes, and you slam him together.
He's got the scariest jawline of any person on the on TV or on movies.
Yeah. Um.
He's
So
moth
seeing
eating.
the
He's bug eating
so
guy.
So when I saw him, when I saw him in this movie, I'm like, great, you're gonna get a really badass villain and all. He's gonna be here too, or henchman, whatever. And you see him, he does some kind of prayer, and then he grabs a bug and eats it, and that's all he does in the movie.
Yeah,
He's barely must be just like this. I guess I was talking around, like he must be just a chauffeur, like he's like the Igor, the Frank, like the original Draco movies. He's a human,
the
but no,
Renfield
but he's not.
basically. Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, he looks human, but he's not a vampire. He's like a ghoul, almost like that. He's like the ones that takes care of them during the day when they're in the coffin.
yep.
That's what I think he is, because he doesn't really do it. He doesn't, and it's such a disappointment because he doesn't do anything in this movie.
No, and it's like a swerve because in the 80s he was a great B-level kind of guy that when you saw him, I mean, he looks like he would just kick your ass, and he's a big imposing dude. I'm not
Yep.
gonna say he's pretty, but he's just got this look where you're like, man, what a tough jawline, and you're like, yeah, this dude's legit. He would kick your ass, and you keep expecting him to just have a scene and go off in this movie, but it never happens. And in a way, that's kind of like oh, I got swerved.
He gets swerved.
Oh, it's
Uh,
true. I mean, that the you expect certain things,
no,
but that's one of the things that this movie definitely delivered that I liked was the fact that they kept some of the elements from the first Fright Night that made it interesting. I thought, we talked about just some the sexy guitar stuff in it, the gratuitous amounts of fog and blue light which you have. But then they also have the Peter Vincent with the mirror in his cigarette case, checking things out. And then, but was also a little bit more mature and adult-like because the girl's in college, she wants to be a psychologist. She's supposed to be more mature, and she wasn't as annoying as the last one. And she has some functionality in this movie, which again, strong female lead, 80s. Um, it's when you come to the end, she basically says, "Okay, I'm going to go get Peter Vincent out." She pretends to be a psychologist, gets him out. They all manage to get together, and of course, Charlie's been turning this whole time, so they go back to the main house, and they have a similar scene like the first movie where they're down in the basement, but this time a little bit more prepared. They've got weapons, they've got all sorts of stuff, so it's a pretty good ending where they end up fighting each of the different ones, and you get a scene where your bug eating guy gets raked across the gut, and all these bugs come out of him, and you're like, oh, that's it. He's not really a vampire. And so, yeah, I didn't think he was human. So I don't know what the hell he was, and I don't know if the writers were trying to add a little mystery to it because in case there was a third or a fourth, they could expand on it, which I thought they would. I don't know. It didn't really bother me, but I just noticed it. But then, of course, there's some really good scenes in here where Regine explains to Charlie, "Yeah, I'm just going to punish you eternally and turn you, and that's why, because he was my brother." And it's interesting because you always hear about, the person who turns you the vampire, he's your master, and some people will say they have to show you the way to live because it's their responsibility, in other franchises. And here it's no, it's a family thing as opposed to, oh, he was some dude that just turned me. No, there was a relationship, and I like that. I thought they did it good. And there's a couple really good visuals here at the end as they die, I thought anyway. And I tried clipping some of those scenes in here that you were seeing. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a decent flick. It's not as funny and cutesy and teenager-ishy as maybe the first one is. Is it an upgrade to it? I don't know, but it's definitely solid. I think I don't know if it's extreme, but I'd say see it if you haven't. But if you haven't seen the first one,
Yeah,
obviously see that first. I mean, there's a few scenes that we're skipping intentionally because we're just kind of glossing over it. But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
overall, I think it's pretty good. But I wanted to go back to how you started. You said that you kind of almost like this one more than the first one. I'd like you to expand on that just a little bit more.
The reason I said I like this one because it gives the characters more like it's the opposite of what we had in the first movie, where Charlie was like the hero, and this one he's basically like the princess.
Yeah,
This one
he's the
is,
D bag.
uh, yeah,
He's
yeah.
rocking his ascot. They're prepping him. He doesn't do anything.
No, he doesn't. Yeah, and especially when they put him in like the holy robe, it's supposed to like help or keep him human. And
Uh-huh.
he and what ruins this movie for a minute is with him is like as soon as I realize this is Steven Crowder, man. But but what but other than that, when you get apart from that side, get past that, you have a girlfriend who's actually like not useless. She helps out. She actually really cares about him. She does, where I didn't get that from the very first one. You know, like it was kind of yeah. Those more. This one's got. This one's got more. She's got more character depth. Same with Peter Vincent, man. You see him go through like where he's really into like he's all excited. He's like, yes, I killed a vampire. He's up, he's like more. And then you see him become a coward. He cowers away, but then he's like, screw it. No, I'm gonna get my courage back. He's like, he's big, and then yeah, he adds like he really steps up towards the end. How he helps save Charlie along with Charlie's girlfriend. Um, the other thing I like about this is I imagine it's one of your favorite scenes too. Is the bowling scene, man.
Yeah,
I'm
the
not talking
bowling
about
scene's a
Charlie's
little
bowling.
weird. Go ahead.
So the bowling scene, like it's the same alley where they shot before. The other scene where Charlie met his girlfriend showed up and she was bowling. So the couple, the older couple that run they run the bowling. They're like the bowling alley is cool. He's like and their goons, the werewolf guy or the roar skinny guy and Brian Armstrong like he's like no we're here to bowl. And it's like and basically they throw him on top of the bar and like the werewolf guy he's sitting there just tapping him like a beer. He fills up a beer mug with his blood. He's drinking it.
Fresh off the tap, like root beer tapper the game.
And they're all bowling horribly. The werewolf boy cannot bowl for himself. He's getting gutter bowls. Uh, The other one on rollerblades, he's trying the bull, but
But
he's
he's
like
on
too.
rollerblades.
He's on rollerblades and he's too effeminate though. The bull, and the other one is actually like as good as Brian Armstrong.
Yeah, he's athletic.
He's like he's yeah, he's not getting out. But what's funny is he's like they're talking and he's kind of teasing him and he wants to go pick up the ball, the ball retriever, and here's the owner's head in the butter the ball retrieval. So he freaks out and like also like it's so and that just threw me off. I laughed like what the hell? Is like why is he scared of that? Like I thought you're wrong with these other guys. This one guy could turn into like a giant like werewolf slash vampire. The other one can kill people while he's on rollerblades. Like, I mean, and like your boss, like she's like 1,000-year-old vampire, just like kind of like Jerry was,
Hmm.
and it's like, why would he be so scared of that? I'm like, uh, so yeah, so they end up leaving and all. But it's funny though, the whole entire movie is that Werewolf Boy was supposed to like bite Charlie's girlfriend, but instead he's like, I'm gonna try and get lucky.
Exactly. Well,
I
if your
was like,
boyfriend doesn't
I'm
show
like,
up here by 9 o'clock, how about I buy you a cup of coffee? And you're like, dude, you got the receding hairline and the long hair. You got the leather
I know
bomber jacket, which is cool, and she's almost buying your vibe. But bro, take it down a notch.
this guy had the vibe from the guy from Jack Nicholson's henchman in Batman '89. I was
I
like, dude, no girl wants you. It's like she's Kim Basinger, and he's the goon, the henchman, her henchman in the jacket. Like, she ain't gonna go for you, bro. You're losing your hair, and you're ready to step out into like Airheads movie.
will tell you that there's not enough movies out there about women seducing men and the power they have over men. At least not like they used to be. And I've talked about before, especially on the Extreme movie show, some early on. We were going over some highlights of different years. Is that David Cronenberg's got some fantastic body horror type films. This, of course, to me, it's campy enough where I'll call it a horror movie because it's not that funny. It's not a laugh out loud riot kind of thing, but she does a very good job, Regine, the character, the lady, Julie Carmen, the actress, of seducing Charlie. Um, she's got an obscene body. I mean, but she's very elegant in the way she approaches it. It's not pure sex. It's erotic and slow, and they play that element up more in this movie, which I enjoy. Just not just with the guitar, but the way she seduces Charlie. So there's that theme to it, and she's a strong woman. She's not acting like the meme that's going around with the cat and the two girls scream or whatever. She's like, no, I'm totally in charge of
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
doing, and you
And
find out at the end.
I like that they actually did a twist here where they actually have the girl seducing,
Yes.
the guy, because before this, I really didn't see anything. The only other movie I think of where a guy is being turned into a vampire there's two other movies. I forget. There is the one with Jim Carrey,
Which
and then
is
there's
not
my
ever going to be discussed. Yeah. Once bitten with Lauren Hutton.
yeah, and then the other one is My Best Friend's a Vampire. Those are the only two other vampires I can move with hot chicks seducing guys. You know, but yeah, this one I believe this one did it first though, and this one was more and I it to me had more sentimental value because dude, Fright Night, it's Peter Vincent. They're Peter Vincent's character is pretty much Vincent Price.
Yes. And that's where they
I
got the
mean,
names from, and also he has the key scene too at the end where they're down at the end. All the vampires are dead except for her. She's getting ready to go after Charlie, who's sitting there cradling his girlfriend in his arms. Peter Vincent's up in the elevator well, looking down. She's like, "Oh, I see your friend's getting ready to leave," and you see him grabbing a big piece of glass from a mirror, and the sun's out, and he reflects it down. Because Charlie's got a hand on the vampire regime, and so he pulls her forward into the light, and it's kind of a neat looking scene. So it kind of uses his tool that we saw in the first two movies, earlier in this movie where he had the cigarette case, and in the first movie the cigarette case. It plays a key element to it. So doing some of the same thing but doing it in a different way is creative enough where I think it's effective. I see Jay's on channel. I like to, when he's in, give him that three bang salute. So before we call it a night, I like to hit numpads number 6. Here we go.
Simon Connor! Bang! When it's all said and done, there can be only one. Bang!
The question I have for everybody is what Kirk Cousins likes to ask.
You like that? You like
Do you
that?
like that? Because I like that. I like that a lot. This movie was It's a decent watch. It's not an action movie. It's not a comedy movie. It's not a horror comedy, horror romance. None of that crap. It's entry level horror. It's not that scary, but it does do a good job of having an 80s vibe to it with a tone. You could watch it on its own and not feel like you've missed out too much. It would be a better watch if you watched the first one. So I know that we had covered the original Fright Night from 1985 recently, but then we also covered the remake of that from 2011, which is just a reboot. We wanted to go back and talk about this one because it's an 80s film, which we love here on the Xtreme Movie Show, and it's something that doesn't ever get talked about a lot, that it's a decent sequel. So I think, again, just like I said at the beginning, if you haven't seen it, see it. Listen to our reviews, watch the first one, check it out. I appreciate some of the retweets that are going out there and all that. Doctor, what final thoughts do you have about this movie?
Well, if a hot girl wants to turn into a vampire, and she's less nagging than your current girlfriend, you might want to get a little extreme, become a vampire.
Charlie goes for the home run in his dream, and it wasn't a dream. He's like, "Yeah, she's making out with me. She's got this jacket on. She's in my room, and I'm alone." He goes at her like an animal, and I'm like Steven Crowder wannabe. Dang, you're really putting it on her. He earned a point in my book for that. All right, Tuesday night. It's 99.4% pure, like Dove soap from the 80s. Decided that the doctor and I are going to cover one of the biggest upsets in the 2012 movies of all time that we covered on Top 10 Tuesday, which we did last Sunday when E was hosting, and that's Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Yeah, because we're on a vampire kick, but more importantly, we're in undercool stuff. So be looking for that probably dropping on Tuesday. So hope to see you guys there. As always, I'd like to say thank you, Doctor, for showing up, giving us your prescription on this film, Fright Night Part 2 from 1988, and stay extreme.
Yes, stay extreme.
Toodles. Good night, everybody. Stay tuned for another link coming up for top 10 of 2013. Good night.